And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week.
And the jersey says it all. It's Red October, and the Philadelphia Phillies took care of business during the wild card series, knocking out the Florida Marlins 2 consecutive games, where Wheeler and Nola serve up inning after inning of scoreless baseball. 1 earned run between them on 8 hits for the 2 of them through those 2 games. And in game 1, every single Philly gets a hit. And in game 2, Bryson Stott delivers a grand slam home run. Only the 2nd time in Major League history where a Philly has done that. The other time, just for the record, the flying Hawaiian, Shane Victorino. So tonight, they go to Atlanta to begin the National League Division Series. Both teams from the East, the toughest division in the National League, and we're off to the races. So Red October continues, and hopefully I'll be wearing this for a lot of weeks to come. And of course, the big news this week, at least one of the big items, was the vote to oust House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, the first time in American history that has occurred. And now the question becomes, who will replace him? And what I've always said is the toughest job in Washington. You know, getting Eagles to fly in formation isn't easy, particularly when your margins are as thin as the Republicans in Congress. And bluntly, this is one of the results of an election where there was supposed to be a red wave, but when it didn't really develop. And we got a red trickle instead, and a very, very slim majority, meaning that every member is a king, and a lot of them think they are. So now we have Steve Scalise, the number 2 Republican in the House, announcing his candidacy for Speaker, immediately followed by Jim Jordan and others sure to follow. How it all works out, we don't know. Here's one thing, you know, the conspiracy theorists and some of our friends will say, oh, Donald Trump will be the Speaker. He won't be. That's the only prediction I'll make. He probably going to be the next president of the United States, a job I think you'd rather have. One of the politically problematic things with that vote was the timing of it, because it occurred when Hunter Biden was in court discussing his criminal charges. There ought to be some focus on this, folks. It's the Biden corruption machine, and putting a spotlight on it is a tremendous advantage politically to the Republicans, but moreover is the right thing to do to put some semblance of balance into all this discussion in the media. There will be more. And of course, the impeachment inquiry continues, and I think a lot is going to roll out of the closet as a result of that. But a little bit of a missed opportunity the other day when that vote was brought up when it was. And of course, as the week is ending, we hear word that the Biden administration is going to continue to build the wall. I mean, this is President Joe Biden that said not 1 foot will be built during my administration, now having to concede, although he won't say it. And, you know, we ought to just focus on that for a minute, because he really ought to have the honesty to look the American people in the eye and say, Donald Trump was right, and by extension, I was wrong. Of course, we'll never hear that, but the fact of the matter is that remains. And so even Mayorkas is now calling these folks streaming across the border illegal aliens, something they never, ever wanted to call these illegal entries. And there's an admission on the part of this administration that more wall needs to be built. This pressure came, interestingly, from these big city Democrat mayors who said, we simply can't absorb all of this into our cities and remain solvent and viable. These sanctuary cities were a lot of BS too. We said that many years ago, and the chickens have all come home to roost. So more border wall, and hopefully with it a little bit more border security, because the border has been a sieve. This administration has been a disaster. Mayorkas should be impeached. And again, I think it's like 63 or 64% of the American people do not believe the Biden administration is doing a good job with border security. That's roughly 2/3 of the electorate. You would think that President Biden would be able to say, you know, like Bill Clinton, I feel your pain, and we're going to make a course correction here because we obviously haven't been doing A, what the American people want, B, what's best for the country, and C, what's absolutely required to keep this nation strong. And as a legal immigrant, I continue to be very, very concerned about illegal immigration, which goes on in record number right now. And finally, I was admonished last week, and properly so, for not mentioning the passing of Brooks Robinson, the great third baseman of the Baltimore Orioles. Many will say the greatest third baseman of all time. I certainly don't want to speak ill of the dead, although there might have been one that I thought was a little bit better, but that's certainly subject to debate because there's no question that Brooks Robinson was a phenomenal athlete, an incredible baseball player, but more importantly, a tremendous human being, someone who will be sorely missed, not only by fans of the game, but by the people of his region. May he rest in peace. And for now, that is the best 60-ish seconds of your week.